Welcome to the DMF. I'm Justin Younts. This is part one.
Welcome to the DMF. I have a producer who has spent quite a few years in this business. Her company, La Monte Productions, has two documentaries, I Weiwei's Turn Dot and Viva Verde. Please welcome to the DMF, Christine La Monte. How are you doing?
I'm great, Justin. Thank you. So great to be with you today.
Absolutely. So my first question is, where did you grow up?
I grew up in Buffalo, New York,
Oh,
one
wow.
of the snow belts actually of New York, and loved growing up on the East Coast. It was wonderful. It's a beautiful city. We're close to New York, close to
Mm-hmm.
Canada. So I spent a lot of time in Canada during the summer, especially at the
Mm-hmm.
beaches there, and also in Toronto. So I had a really nice youth group, went to all convent schools, all girl convent
Oh,
schools.
wow.
So that was also very kind of interesting. I had four brothers, though, that kind of counterbalanced all of that. So it
Okay,
was
yeah,
good.
I can
No
imagine.
sisters, except my
Yeah.
sisters at the convent school.
Were you always interested in the arts?
Absolutely. Yeah, I was. I remember as a young girl going to my grandmother's for where I heard opera all the time as she made her sauce on a Saturday morning for Sunday.
Yeah.
And I remember after lunch, we would have a 2 o'clock lunch, and then I would beg anyone to take me to the cinema. I was 6 or 7,
Yeah.
and then I would beg them to stay for the second showing because I needed to see it twice. And I just loved being immersed in those worlds, those interesting, mysterious worlds that were created with color and sound, and these worlds that I knew nothing about, but was being educated in a way. So, yes, I always loved film and TV, the arts, always going to museums. I was lucky. There were great museums around. The Albright Knox in Buffalo is one of the best for contemporary art. So I
Yeah.
was very fortunate to grow up in that milieu.
Do you think that helped you with, being in this world of film?
Yes, I do, because I think you get trained in a way, your eye gets trained in a way to see what's beautiful and what is elevated to museum level art or to film, whether it's animation or whether it's a feature. So yeah, definitely. And I think I had some good mentors along the way, some good teachers along the way that kind of helped. I remember it being in college. I wasn't really someone who joined groups. I wasn't in a sorority or anything, but I there was international film night. On Friday nights, they would show
Wow.
these great films.
Yeah.
And so I immediately was a part of that. So every Friday night, I would see two foreign films, so it would be Yokimbo or
Ooh.
Wild Strawberries
Yeah,
or
yeah.
Tokyo Story or my favorite, Black Orpheus. So I was
Yeah.
stimulated and inspired by these films, also to travel. So it inspired me to become a part of the arts, to work in the arts, and also to travel to all these places where these cultures were so unique and unusual. The language, I was a French major, but when I lived in Japan, I studied Japanese. I lived there for almost a year
Oh,
at a
wow.
Zen Buddhist temple, and I studied Japanese. So I saw Kokuho, which is the Japanese entry
Mm.
for this year. I was at the screening with the director, and I was able to talk to him a little bit in Japanese. And I just love being immersed in those cultures, just like I love
Yeah.
being immersed in those films.
So like Seven Samurai, Francois Truffaut, that's
That's
awesome.
right.
Those, great, those are such
Oh, you have a
great
love for
films.
those movies as well, I
Oh
see.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
I love Yojimbo. That's
yeah,
such an awesome
yeah.
film, and yeah, I wish we could get more people to watch these films. I feel like if the foreign market it's starting to expand. Like I never thought the anime market would be a big market, and that's starting to be a big seller because they're starting to put in those
Mm,
in the theater. So I don't
mm.
know. Anything's possible. I just think it just takes, I guess, the correct marketing. So where did you specifically go to school?
I went to Mount St. Joseph's.
Hmm.
So it was St. Joseph Nuns in Buffalo. And then I went to the University of Buffalo.
Hmm.
As I said, I was a French major. And then I moved to Aspen right away. And I lived in Aspen and was there. I was a little bit of a hippie, a flower child, and skied and
Yeah.
had a great time. There's no TV, no newspapers. So it was
Yeah.
total the reality that we wanted to create there, and that was pretty special. And actually, it was one of my first producing jobs because I produced the Beaux-Arts ball. It was this costume ball for Halloween, and that was really something with a band and
Yeah.
great catering, and it was at the Hotel Jerome. It was a landmark event actually that goes back. Yeah,
That
that
was
it continues. I think they're still doing it today. I'm not sure, but it was pretty good.
that was my next question. How did you kind of get into producing?
Well, I was a studio executive at Universal Disney and Orion,
Yep.
and I spent most of my time, besides marketing, with the directors and producers. That was kind of my choice
Hmm.
because I felt I was learning at the feet of the masters. And
Yeah.
seeing a film, when you create marketing materials, whether it's a trailer, whether it's TV clips,
Right.
or even a poster, you have to really understand the essence of the film and the special moments. So you would see a film 100 times, literally,
Yeah.
over and over and over to get those beats to um, to take out, to extract the select moments that are going to either inspire or encourage someone to see the film. And also for niche markets, so you would do it for different markets.
Yeah.
So I love doing that.
Yeah.
It was always a great thing for me because I learned so much, the mastery of sound, of color, and of acting, obviously, and of directing. So
Yeah.
you could see right away. You could see through things right away. I see a film right away, and in 2 minutes, I know.
Exactly.
Is this going? Well, I'll give it more than 2 minutes. I do the same thing with books, though. Maybe I'm not that fair, but you can usually tell. Well, no, do they have it? Do they have something to really bring
Yeah.
me in?
Yeah.
So I love doing that. And then, so I was working at, as I said, Universal Disney and Orion. And when Orion closed their doors after back-to-back Oscar sweeps with
Yeah.
Dances with Wolves and Silence of the Lambs, which I oversaw as the head of marketing, along with great people. I mean, Tama Masuda did amazing one sheets, and David Forbes was the president of the overall
Yeah.
company. All, Bev Weinstein did the ad buys. So there was a great group. There was not very many of us, 8 people.
Yeah.
Honestly, it was a very skeletal crew compared, especially compared to the studios. When I worked at Universal, there were hundreds of us, and Disney too, hundreds of us. But Orion was a little different, but it was my favorite experience. And working with Arthur Krim was divine. It was a gift. So after we did that, the company closed.
Yeah. I
Unfortunately,
I wanted to ask. So were you at Universal and Disney before Orion? Is that
yes,
okay?
yes.
So like, what years are we talking here? Like that's
Okay, so I think I started at Universal definitely in the 70s.
oh in the same.
In
Oh wow.
in the 70s, yes, way
The good
before
period
a lot
of
of people were born.
filmmaking
Right.
where the director really had a lot of free
Yeah.
range. Yeah.
But there were amazing movies in the 70s and
Yeah.
80s, right? I mean,
Yes. Taxi
iconic. So,
Driver.
so
Just
yeah. So then, and then 85, when Jeffrey and Michael took over Disney, they
mhm,
hired me to head up their New York office. There was nobody there.
yeah.
And I love startups. I'm really good at them. I like
Oh
the
wow.
challenge of manifesting and creating something. So I started that and grew that New York office. And then we opened Touchstone and all these great,
Yeah.
fabulous films
Touchstone
that
was such
were,
a great. I mean,
oh,
you got Who Framed Roger Rabbit from that studio.
exactly.
Eventually went into Miramax. I mean,
Yeah.
yeah.
It was pretty special. Yeah. And then from that, I lived, then I got married and I moved to New Zealand with my husband.
Oh wow.
And I worked for TV3 New Zealand.
Okay.
They were just launching. There were only two stations there. And they closed at 4 o'clock. And it was mostly sheep, these dogs like herding sheep. I
Yeah.
honestly, I'm not kidding. It
Really.
was in the 87. Yeah. So I worked with them and helped them launch TV3. My husband was a CEO of Lion Nathan, and it was a really beautiful time for us. We lived in Pekarenga, a little bit outside of Auckland, and it was special times, a beautiful country. Met great people. And then when we came back, that's when I left Disney then and went to New Zealand. When I came back, It's a very funny story because I was starting my PR company. I said, I'll just start my own PR company. And Charlie Glenn from Orion Pictures called me and said, "We want you to head up marketing, at Orion." And I said, "Charlie, it's my birthday, and I just
Yeah.
created my own, I have my stationery. I just got it." And he said, "Tear it up." And I said, "Okay." So
Yeah.
saying yes is a big part of moving forward, I think, in a career with
Yeah.
things that appeal to you and are attractive, but that you might not
Scary.
even be ready for, right? To head up so that was kind of interesting. So that's when I went to Orion. Orion closed, and then I became the producer of the Mary Lou Henner Show TV, one
Okay.
of the producers of that. And that was great. It was for a year. And I love TV because it's quick, it's fast. It's
Yeah.
Jane Newbell and I were partners in producing. There were a few other producers as well, but we brought in a lot of the talent, and it was exciting to
Yeah.
to go that quick pace. I like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah.
that lasted for a while.
So when you went at Orion, you were there when they were doing Science of the Lambs. So you were doing that marketing material. So you
Yes.
were around when they came up with that, iconic poster of the butterfly in the mouth
Yes,
and
that's
the
Tommy
thing.
Masuda. That was her
Yeah.
genius. She did beautiful
Yeah.
posters for both one
Yeah.
sheets on both films. They were for Dances with Wolves too. They
Yeah.
were very unusual, really beautiful. And today they're classics, both of
Yeah.
them. Yeah, very, very interesting. Yeah.
When you guys were looking at the marketing for like a Science of the Lambs, did you how did you guys see it? Did you guys see it? Did you want to? Did you were you kind of teetering between horror? Was this some people consider it a horror film? I consider it a thriller film, but was that something that you were guys playing around? Because it's two
Well,
different
it's really
audiences.
interesting, Justin, because you work with the director. And I
Yeah,
remember Jonathan Demme was just an amazing, fabulous guy.
yeah,
And he would come to our marketing meetings. And one day he came in, he goes, "Okay, we're opening February 14th on Valentine's Day." We said, "Okay, it's a little bit of a pivot here.
yeah,
This is going to be a love story and a Valentine." So we shifted our thinking, and that's how we promoted it. It was a bit of a love story between Jody and Anthony in a way. I mean, it was
yeah,
this back and forth, and it had humorous elements to it, and obviously it had horror, and it was a beautiful book that was written and based on that.
yeah,
So, yeah, working with directors is very interesting. They have a vision, obviously, of how things can be marketed, and especially when it's someone like Jonathan,
yeah,
who comes with great energy and great ideas, and
yeah.
he has a vision. Okay, let's go. And Orion was one of those companies where there weren't a lot of hierarchies.
Oh,
Arthur Krim,
really?
right, and Eric Pleskow, David Forbes, and then us,
Yeah,
Tommy Masuda, me, and Bev Weinstein. And we had a springboard that we did all of our materials. So whether it was advertising, marketing, or ad buying, so it was very, as I said,
yeah,
just a few of us narrowed down,
yeah.
and it was actually you could go a little faster that way, which is always good for me.
Yeah, because sometimes they have so many, levels, and it's like
Right.
to get a final answer, you got to go through this person, talk to
Exactly.
this person. It's like sometimes it's best to just know who you need to talk to, and then just
Exactly.
get it out there. So you were there like to the end of Orion. What what
Yes.
what do you think led to the end? I know a lot has been written about that, but I'm just curious from
Well,
somebody in the
I think
inside.
I really think one of the best films there, actually, besides Silence and Dances, was it was the I'm trying to think. It was the not. It was the book was called The Westies,
Okay.
and the film was Sean Penn, Robin Wright. That's where they met. Gary Oldman, and it was called. Oh, help me out here.
I
Oh, I
know
know
what
it.
you're
I talk
talking
about
about.
it all the time because it's one of my favorite films. It's a genius film. It was Phil Joanneau. It was his first film, and Arthur was very generous with directors. He believed in film. He believed in Phil and the film. And so I think that we spent a lot of money on that production
Mhm.
and weren't able to recoup it. Now I'm not saying that's just one of the things. There were a lot of other things that added to that, but that was our last big film.
Yeah.
Yeah,
you also had like some action pictures too. You had like the RoboCop franchise
that's
and
right.
stuff, and then that kind of, I don't know. I think they kind of should have waited for Paul to come back and do the sequel, because he's the one that kind of had the vision. Because that movie could have just been, it could have been schlock, and it ended up having like a message that I think is still timely today. You know, of a police department owning a thing. But I don't know. I just always think of Orion because they have Annie Hall at one point, uh, or no, that's United Artists. I'm thinking about United Artists. But I don't know. It's sad that company just kind of went away. You know, Orion.
I know it was one of the companies that people cheered for and loved because it was doing these gems, but
Yeah,
it was a mini studio because we didn't have a lot or anything,
yeah,
but it was one of those companies that people were always eager to see what was next from them
yeah,
because they were original films. They were unusual. Arthur took, as I said, Arthur and Eric took, and Mark Platt was the head of production.
yeah,
Before that, Mike Medavoy. So they were, they took chances on artistic vision. And they came out, as you said, with all these really unusual, great movies,
yeah.
different, diverse films. I remember doing also um, God, there were so many great movies there. It was just a while ago. I can't bring them
Yeah,
up.
no. We're talking about like '93. I mean, it's just,
Yeah,
we're going real
91,
back.
92 is when
Yeah,
I was there. Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But that's just interesting. Okay, so now let's go into, you create Lamont Productions.
right.
How did so was there something that you were seeing in the industry that you felt was not being met, that you
Well,
wanted to bring to
no,
your?
interestingly enough, things really kind of come to me. I work very hard and I'm
Mm,
always ready and say yes to a lot of things.
yeah,
So things were coming to me. And I remember Gary Goldstein had a play.
yeah,
And I said, I love this play. Let's get it out there. And so I produced it. And we had an incredible run. It was Three Grooms and a Bride,
mm,
about a couple, a heterosexual couple getting married, and then a gay couple, two guys, that said, well, we want to get married too. Let's
yeah,
see if we could do this. But it was unusual at the time. It was 2000, maybe two or
yeah. That's
one or two.
before
It's like way before.
before is like
Oh,
really when
yeah.
it started to hit the
Yeah.
headway of like,
Yeah, it was
we
ahead
can
of
do
its
this.
time, but it was a really sweet, wonderful comedic turn.
Yeah,
And so and we had it, let's see, I think we had a great run, and we went actually two and three runs over.
yeah,
So we made money on it, which is unusual too. I love producing. I have a lot
yeah.
of friends. I get them enthused in all these different marketing angles to get people interested and inspired to see a film, a play. So
Yeah.
it's always interesting to me. I love the challenge of it.
Well, you mentioned, you said you like startups. You like that
Yes,
startup
I
feel.
do. And that's what producing is, right? It's a
Yeah.
startup. When I think about Viva Verde, and I always turned out, especially Viva Verde, Yvonne and I had we have a 30-year friendship.
Yeah.
And I remember 13 years ago, I was living in Rome with my husband, and she connects with me through Facebook and says, I've got this project. She's a Ramne Ringo Q Buddhist. And she
Yeah.
said in her chanting, my name came up,
That's
and
awesome.
she should get in touch with me to get involved in this project. And it sounded great to me. It was Verdi, who, I grew up with opera.
Yeah.
And I worked with Zeffirelli on La Traviata when I was at Universal, and he and I became
Oh
good
wow.
friends. And so I had, kind of a proper education through my
Yeah.
time with Franco Zeffirelli, and would invite me to all the rehearsals. I was even in New York at the time, I was at the Met all the time.
What was
So
that like working with Zeffirelli? I'm sorry. I
yeah,
gotta ask about that. That's
really,
awesome.
really. I mean, I don't know. I feel like the luckiest girl in the world
Yeah.
because I love the arts and I have a passion for them, and I want the world to understand that they're accessible. And I
Yeah.
think that's my work kind of leans towards those. So when she called me and I said, "Oh, this is amazing. I have karma with Verdi." My grandmother's Mario Lanza albums when she made her sauce were Verde arias. And there I worked with Zeffirelli. And so I was thrilled, to have this opportunity. So she and I went to Milan on our own money. We got permission, started filming a development reel, created a development reel, raised some funds, and just continue on. 13 years later, we are on the Oscar Academy portal, and Oscar contenders. The shortlist is announced on Tuesday. Let's see what happens. So that was really a very right from the very beginning, and then Yvonne and I did a paper cut, wrote what we thought we could see after meeting these residents there, and then brought on all these great people, editors, and Nick Pike did a beautiful song, Sweet Dreams of Joy, which is also up for Best Song right now.
That's awesome.
So yeah, we put together a great team, and I think our film is really touching a lot of people. It's relevant. It has hope and inspiration, and people identify with it. It's a universal music. The music is so beautiful, isn't it? And it with Verde and Nick's music.
And I love the fact that it's showing that, this is what we can do with the arts. This is something we can put money into the arts. We don't have, I love that idea of this place for, for older people to still, who are suffering, but can, using music to bring that out of them,
Right. And how creativity and music can last forever. This is their third act of life, and they're still jamming at 80 and 90.
And sounding
how exciting is that, right?
I love that. When I was
at
the very end with the woman who's singing the aria, and I was just like, wow, even at that age. I mean, she stops because she's tired or whatever, but it's amazing. And then showing them partnering up with younger people.
Exactly.
Showing them that, I thought that was, I was like, we can take a lot from that.
Yes.
And we don't do enough of that kind of apprenticeship.
That intergenerational exchange is so exciting to see, Justin, to see them walking, the younger generation and these old masters walking arm in arm and discussing head to head about life, about philosophy, about music that they're both obsessed with. How beautiful is that? Right. And as Massimiliano says in the film, you can't learn this in a book. At Casa Verde, it's given to you. The torch is passed with love and passion and understanding. And it's a beautiful thing to see. And it really is a blueprint that all of us in life can incorporate, whether we're at home or in a retirement home. Definitely for retirement homes, to have more young people there.
Well, it made me think about back in New York, they had, they had like apartments specifically for artists, struggling artists. Now they don't have that anymore. But it reminded me of that. It's like, we can help each other and go back and forth. So I loved that message. I thought it was a beautiful film. So I'm glad that it's because I think it will resonate well with it's filmed beautifully. I think it will resonate with a lot, especially in this time period that we're in, where everything's so divisive. This is a film I think that can bring a lot of people together and go.
You're so right. And Justin, we're getting so many calls. We've done a very robust film festival run, and we're getting calls from opera houses and from retirement homes and community centers to show the film. So, talking about these hybrid ways of getting films out, that's one of them. When there's not a lot of theaters available, art house theaters available to show these films. So there's ways of doing it. And AARP is doing a holiday virtual screening next week, December 17th at 8 p.m. Eastern time, for free, just by signing up on their website. Yeah, so anybody can see it right now.
That's so good, because I when I watched it, I was like, yeah, people need to see this.
Please like, share, and subscribe. Thank you.